Welcome to the Thrive Talks podcast. We're your hosts, Jamie Smith and
Tara Galuska
from Thrive Art Studio.
We believe that being an artist is very important and often lonely work. So here at Thrive, we host monthly mastermind meetings with groups of female, gender fluid, and gender non-binary artists from all around the world. We support and help each other stay accountable and motivated in our art businesses and our art practices.
Thrive Mastermind actually started with just 6 of my artist friends at my studio in 2015. At that time, little did we know we were actually starting a movement.
At Thrive, we believe the keys to success are to make art, meet your people, and do the work.
Part of this doing the work are these monthly check-ins with each other. They help us stay inspired, motivated, and accountable, which is so hard when you're doing this all on your own. Mastermind meetings follow a specific structure, and this podcast follows the very same one.
So, whether you're a Thrive Mastermind member, a fellow artist, or you're just curious about what it is that artists do and talk about, we are excited to invite you to share in our discussions.
Welcome to episode 8. Today our guest is April Lacheur, and we're very excited to have her here. April is a self-taught painter, mostly working in acrylic, creating bold interpretations of West Coast nature. Her latest work combines loose abstract backgrounds with structured line work and largely focuses on trees, exposed tree roots, and reminds us to share and celebrate our own roots and our personal histories. April has been selling work for over 10 years and runs a full-time art business selling original art, commissions, prints, cards, calendars, and ornaments. She sells her work largely at artisan markets and online. She is also a registered nurse and has been focusing mainly on her art practice for the last few years. She now only nurses 1 day a week and often jokes that nursing has become her hobby and art has become her real job.
Ooh, like it is a real job.
It is real.
And as her Instagram bio says, painting is my real job. Yapes is my nickname. I use color and lines to capture Canadian West Coast nature. And April is obsessed with trees.
April, welcome. We've known each other for quite some time, I would say.
We have, Jamie, and I'm very excited to be here with you and Tara today. And it's really a special moment, actually, because I was lucky enough to be a part of the original Thrive. There were 6 of us that would meet in Jamie's studio on a more casual basis to chat about art business. And, here we are today recording a podcast for Thrive with your... How many members are there?
168.
There's 170 today.
Whoa. They're growing without me even knowing.
Right. Scary. But how incredible that the growth that has happened in Thrive, the movement that you guys have created, Jamie being the original creator and Tara being the uber supportive, and now you guys being the amazing team that you guys are together.
The dream team.
Also,
you right now are wearing our new member pin.
Sporting it.
Our
pride.
Christmas gift to ourselves. Tara and I were so excited to order those, and it looks bomb.
Yeah, I wish you guys could see it right now. It's pretty fantastic. And I remember when you ladies were like, wouldn't it be so cool if we had these like amazing pins to give to our members? And you know what? You made it happen. And in short order. So, that just speaks to you ladies in general. Like, you say what you want to do, you put it out there, and you work super hard to get it done. And, that's just, I feel like you guys are really living the motto of Thrive, which is do the work.
That's why we're so tired,
right?
April.
That's why... I believe you. Every time I hear Jamie and Tara speak
just
about an idea.
Just take a compliment.
Sorry.
And speaking of do the work, do you know what the back of your pin says, April?
I recently discovered that it actually says do the work.
It's on
in
you.
a little secret. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Love that. Always close to the heart. Yeah.
Well, we're very excited to have you here and always appreciate your support. April's also on our leadership team, and we're one of our first leaders. The poor thing has been a guinea pig for this whole experiment.
And I've had a lot of fun with it.
Good. I'm glad. Well, we also had an opportunity to go to April's house when we were training her on the online version of Mastermind and leading that. And so we were there to make sure the tech worked out. And so we caught the first intro she was doing as we were leaving. And me and Tara get in my car and I'm like, oh man, we got to step up our game. Like April is awesome.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
come
it
on.
was
I'm only
awesome.
following you, lovely ladies.
So today we basically are going to have our own little mastermind meeting, which is kind of fun, especially
Awesome.
after
Awesome.
leading them. This is a meeting for us, which is really exciting. And last time we talked just before we left for our 3-week hibernation. So what happened during our hibernation, Tara?
I had a pretty good hibernation of 3 weeks. I had a really good balance of studio time and family time. I, of course, wanted to be in the studio the whole time, but I'm lucky to have a family and that I'm lucky they want to spend time with me. So I did both of those things and felt really proud of myself and felt like a full human.
Wow.
Really, yeah, it's big for me.
That's amazing.
So it was really fun. And I spent lots of studio time and I was kind of reaching my, next level. Last week was going to go big, go hard, but I got sick and I'm still sick. It's still just lurking.
The germs are lurking still.
Well, on that lovely note, I, for 3 weeks, was sick the whole time. So
You ladies really know how to do a hibernation.
we know how to do it. Yeah.
It was so sad. Jamie was talking to me about it and feeling terrible. You had so many plans and I was trying to give you pep talks like, it's okay. Maybe this is your body telling you need to slow down. And then I had to eat all my own words in that last week. And I suffered too.
That's disappointing. That's disappointing.
Yeah, but it makes some good answers for this meeting.
Hey, and really, it's all about the podcast, ladies.
Yeah.
So that's what's most important.
It's all about good answers for Mastermind.
That's right.
Makes it all worth it.
Way to see the bright side, Jamie.
Well, let's get started. So, Tara, is there something you've been working on that you're really excited about?
I'm really excited about it being a new year. It's 2018. It's going to be good. And I like to do quite a few different getting ready for the new year things, like the goal setting book that Jamie created, a vision board, all the rest of it. But one of my favorite things to do is pick a word of the year. And I like it better than something like a resolution because it just sets an intention and a focus, but it's not too much pressure or I just like it. Feels good. Last year, my word was no, which was great.
Such a good word.
I almost thought I'd do it again, but I think it's fully integrated in me now.
She just said no to me all year.
Yeah.
She had a really good practice with you, Jamie.
Right? I was like, I have a new idea. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We don't have time. She was right the whole time, but I was really glad that we're moving on to another word.
Still saying no. So the new word is abundance.
Ooh, I like that.
So I would catch myself last year saying a lot things like, I don't have enough time, or I don't have enough money, or I don't have this or that or whatever. And I didn't like it. It made me feel more and more miserable. And I think that kind of mindset doesn't create any opportunities for abundance or much else or creativity. So I wanted to let go of that. I also am ready to let go of being in survival mode. Somebody who runs a small business and has been working at that and being self-employed for a few years. It can feel just like the norm. Like, oh, it's okay. Just always just like tread water and that's okay. But no more. So I'm kind of coupled with abundance comes gratitude. And so I'm really focusing on gratitude and where I have abundance in my life. And part of that has been like on my walks home from work, I'll think about what I'm grateful for and then I'll start tearing up.
So she's now
so great.
crying in public. I love it.
So I don't know if this is good or bad, but I'm feeling more grateful. So maybe that's a win. And Jamie, do you have a word of the year?
My word of the year last year, focus, was awesome because it was a check-in point. So I kind of defined what that word meant to me. And then throughout the year, when I felt off focus, I could go back to it, and it was really awesome. And then looking back, I think I really embodied that word. So this year, I picked the word growth because last year was all about focusing on Thrive, and that worked, and it was a big year for Thrive. But now I feel like I need to grow in other areas of my life. So primarily my art practice, but also my friends and family, and kind of get back to growing those other areas. So I'm really excited.
Right on.
April, do you have the word of the year?
I do. My word this year is gratitude. And I feel like gratitude is a bit of a buzzword right now. People are talking about gratitude. They're talking about, there's stuff on social media about it. I'm seeing t-shirts with it, which I feel like is super exciting because it's such a positive thing and we need more positivity in this world. So it's great. So for me, I'm trying to be more grateful and actually doing things that make me connect with my gratitude. So as an example, I'm looking at sort of what am I doing in my day? What feels a little bit negative? How could I put a positive spin on that? i.e., I'm doing the dishes. I don't really feel like doing the dishes, but I'm going to be grateful that I have a home I can do dishes in and that there's running water, changing my mindset to something more positive. And I'm finding like I'm just way more positive in general. I'm finding myself to be happier. I'm also making sure that I write down one thing I'm grateful for every day in my day planner, and doing a little exercise sometimes where I think about sort of 3 things I'm grateful for sort of before I fall asleep or, time when I have some quiet time to do that. So I'm finding it super helpful and I'm planning on keeping it for the rest of 2018, keep that going.
Awesome. Do you find yourself crying like I do, or are you keeping it together?
I never cry like that, Tara. I don't know what you're talking about.
A good cry never hurt anyone, especially good
love a good cry. That's right. Yeah, on the street, that's
Street
next level
cries.
right there.
Hey, we've all been there. So, April, what are you excited about?
All right, still question 1. Okay. I have a solo show coming up in February. So the opening will be February 22nd. And it's at the Port Moody Arts Center. And it's titled Our Roots Exposed, because of course I have a thing for tree roots and how those are our stories and about sharing roots. So of course it's going to be lots of tree paintings, which I'm very excited about. I've been working on a whole new body of work for that. And this is my first time ever showing in a public gallery. And so it's been a really great experience and a new learning experience for me. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I hope that you ladies will come to the opening.
When's the opening again?
So it's February 22nd. That's a Thursday night, from 6 till 8 at the Port Moody Arts Center. And actually, I'm also going to be showing with fellow Thrive Mastermind member, Sarah Ronald.
Awesome.
Yay!
Yeah, she's also showing
Sarah's
her
the best.
work. So we'll both be at the opening. So if we can get the Thrive ladies to represent, that would be.
When's the last time you did a show on your own?
I think the last time Jamie was...
I was afraid this was the answer.
The solo show that you made me do.
I know. I'm sorry.
You strongly encouraged me with much positivity at the Visual Space Gallery, which is no longer in that space. It's somewhere else. But it was, Jamie and I both did a solo show on one night and decided to make it into an art walk.
Called Rove.
Which was the birth of Rove.
The Mount Pleasant Art Walk that now exists and I have to put on every year.
And you do an amazing job
at
it. It's such an awesome event and brings a ton of people out and gets a lot of art out there. And it's a lot of work for you, though. I know it's a lot of work.
It's coming May, and we have a helper. We've got Ellen working on it. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
You did a good
It's gonna be
job
good.
because that was a big project one night. Sorry.
That was a big project. That was different because I rented the space. And so I had to get a liquor license and, have it catered and set up the show myself. This I'm quite excited about because I'm literally just dropping off my art to the lovely curator. And she hangs my work. And so I'm just going to arrive on the opening night and it's all going to be hung and ready for me. So,
That's so cool.
yeah, this is a different experience for me. So I'm looking forward to the experience on a whole. So yeah.
That's really exciting. So
Thank you.
I am excited about it being the new year, and at all our mastermind meetings, it's really fun because everyone is really joyful and excited. And I had a member that said that they are really into this time of year because you see everyone sort of looking off into the future. And I thought that was an interesting perspective. And January is her favorite month. And I like that. So I think I'm adopting that January is my favorite month. And so it's exciting time. And it's exciting to set your own intentions, but also see around you. And we have in the mastermind program, we do reflection meetings throughout the year. And so right now we have a bunch of groups doing their reflections. And so it's a good time of year for that. And so it's been neat to hear people talk about what they've learned in Thrive and done through Thrive, and then what they have coming up and what the focus they want to set. So I've just really enjoyed this month and the meetings.
Those reflection meetings are so great. I've had the opportunity to do a few through my leadership and through being a member. And it's just an opportunity to really look back on your book, look back on the months that you've been a member of Thrive and be like, okay, what have I accomplished? What were the goals? Where am I with this and that? And I find personally, and then the members of my group, they often look back and they're very sort of proud of what they've done, and they don't realize sort of how far they've come, or how far they've actually got on that one goal when they thought they weren't working that hard, but they actually are. So yeah, those reflection meetings are really great.
I think there's something that the goal setting book does really well is looking back before you move forward. And because it's so easy just every month to be like, what's next? What's next? What's the next goal? So I really like how it slows you down. Awesome. Well, question 2 is share something you learned this month. Tara, what did you learn?
I learned or relearned or was reminded how important it is to reach out to people. So last month on the podcast, I mentioned that Natalie Baxter, she's an artist who I really admire, inspired me. And I thought, well, rather than just talk about how she inspires me to podcast listeners or people in my mastermind meetings, why not tell Natalie herself? So I just reached out, sent an email, was like, thanks for making the work you make, and keep it up. Cool, bye. And I got a response. We had a really nice chat, and it just made the world feel like a smaller, friendlier place. And I want to do more of that because every time I've done it, it's worth it, even if I don't hear back.
I think it's such an important thing to do is put yourself out there, especially giving other people kind words. Because I think when people are making great work, you feel like they know that. But everyone wants to hear that no matter what level you're at, I think. And we have Sandeep Johal, who was on the podcast and is a leader. And she is the queen now of reaching out to artists. And she's done art trades with artists because of that. She's gone and done studio visits because of that. And it really has opened up her world. So I highly recommend.
She also emailed recently Roxanne Gay and got a response. And I was like, yep.
Crazy. So it can happen. Send your love out into the world.
Yes.
Love that. That's a really good reminder.
Awesome. April, what have you learned this month?
Well, January often comes with sort of, goals, and a lot of them come with sort of personal care type goals, maybe. I've been very focused on nutrition, and that's not just sort of January, but with January arriving, I'm really working hard on it. And I've just realized how important nutrition is. Good nutrition, feeding your body good food, giving it what it needs, not giving it the crap it doesn't need, and how that sort of plays into all parts of my life, including making art. I've been on a really good track right now with just eating clean and not eating processed stuff and sugar and alcohol. And like, I'm a total sugar addict. So getting away from sugar has been great for me. But I notice now that I'm way more focused. When I'm going to make art, I can just get in there and start making the work faster. I don't sort of fiddle around, and it affects all parts of my life. And I'm much happier. You know, I'm sleeping better, all of the things that kind of go with it. So it's been a lot of work because I'm doing a lot of food prep and feel like I'm grocery shopping all the time. And I've never spent so long in the kitchen. I don't like cooking. And so, but I'm seeing the rewards, and it is interesting how much it's also benefiting my business practice and my art practice. So
it's worth it.
Loving that. It is worth it. All the shopping and
it's a whole lifestyle shift, really.
It is. And for me, I want this to be a lifestyle. I don't want it to be, we're not talking about a fad diet here or anything like that. But yeah, I'm seeing the benefits for my like mental clarity and my, emotional balance and all the things.
It's an exciting way to start the year.
Yeah. So, ask me in February how it's going.
Yeah. To a follow-up episode just about the diet.
Yeah. April's eating cookies and chocolate.
So this month I learned about Molotown paint markers. I had the opportunity to work with Ola Volo on the new Thrive mural.
Ooh,
I'm very excited. It's our new space. It's a co-working space. And we have one of the meeting rooms as sort of our designated Thrive meeting room. So we decked it out with new chairs and a great rug, but it needed art. And Ola's a member of Mastermind, and we're starting to do a mural residency program with them. So our Mastermind members can apply to paint different walls that they'll have available, and they'll rotate. And so Ola was in town from Montreal, and she said, I will do this. And it's so beautiful. We will post it on the show notes. And so I got to see her at work, and that was really neat how we worked with projector to get on the wall, but then you can just tell she's done so many of these. So her line work is really clean and beautiful. And we're doing, it's a woman, a queen, really, looking up.
Of course.
Looking up into the future. The future is female. She's there. And she's wearing this kimono with floral patterns all over it. And so we got these Molotown paint markers, and it was so cool because it's like using a marker, but it's acrylic paint that comes out. So it's long lasting. It's just like you're applying paint, but the detail she could do, and she's drawing, right? So it's such a useful tool. So if you're doing any sort of wall mural, or you could even use it on canvas, but it was super easy and quick. So that's my new resource.
Do you know where she found those?
Opus art supply store. Yeah.
Right.
So if Opus has them, I feel like a lot of art supply stores would. But we'll put that in the show notes, and you can have a look. I think you can order right from them as well. And they have tons of color. And the guy showed me that you can refill them. So you can put your own colors in them. You can buy empty pens and add your own colors. And then the nib, if you start to wear it down, it pops out and you flip it and you have a new nib. So they're really about sustainability and using, like, you should buy your pen and then be able to use that for years. And you can fill it with their colors or fill it with your own colors. So that was really cool.
Do they come in different widths?
Yes.
Oh, love that.
Lots of options. That was actually the hard part of figuring out which one we wanted to use. But it would be great for different line work in one piece. It would look like you're using different brushes.
Right.
All right. Question 3. What or who are you inspired by right now?
Right this second.
I am inspired by all of the women's marches this month all around the world. There was a small town in Nova Scotia, Canada, that doubled their number of marches from 16 to 32. So those 32 and everyone else who marched really inspires me. I was able to attend last year, but this year Bill he's had a little bit of surgeries, and I promised that I'd be there looking after him for 24 hours. And he was like, well, but the women need you. Women are more important. But
true story, Bill. True story.
True. But then I just couldn't have lived with myself.
And us women, we need supportive, wonderful men like Bill. So you got to show up for him too.
He deserves to live.
Go Bill.
He is fine, everyone listening to the podcast.
Yeah, he's good. He's recovering and it's all good. But but back to the Women's March and the feminist movement and feminists. I'm also inspired by the difficult conversations that are coming up between feminists and people who care about equality and change. And I think it's really important. Sometimes we can feel like, oh, well, we should just be polite and we should get along. But I think there's something to be said by disagreeing and looking at things from different perspectives, however uncomfortable that can be. And it just really inspires me in my own life. How can I do better? How can I be better? And it's just very moving because it's our responsibility.
It's a very exciting time.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, I agree.
I have also been really inspired by SNL and the few skits that they've done about feminism. And there's one video called Welcome to Hell, and we'll post it. And it really, in a hilarious way, pinpoints what's happened for women over the years. So basically part of it is like, welcome to hell. Like, you've ruined nighttime, you've ruined parking lots, vans, and we're scared all the time. And they do it in such a funny way that you start to realize how silly it is that women do live this way. And there's another video that I really, really like that it's called This Is Not a Feminist Song. And I think it really speaks to women that if we're not speaking about feminism in a proper way, we're afraid to say anything. And we feel like we need to be more educated, or we need to have our own personal experience to really speak up about things. And I think this is a time where these marches it's more just show up, be there. And that's exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
April, what have you learned this month?
I feel like you ladies are both going to like this. I'm very inspired by Oprah.
Sorry. I bet listening to that was not a fun thing, but the queen.
And, I think this is not a new inspiration for me, and probably not a new inspiration for many ladies out there, but how much did you love her Golden Globe speech? Oh,
empowered cry.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Tara was crying all the way down the street with that one.
I was very moved.
Yeah, I cried. Yeah. I watched it and I got all teary, and then I kind of took some time to really reflect on it and be like, what is it? Like, what sort of touched me? And it was this feeling of hope, right? It's like, there's all this other junk going on in the world, but there's also, like you guys are saying, this movement of women and strong women, and we're not going to put up a crap anymore, and just loving. And, Oprah just put it together so beautifully. And, it's the ladies in Hollywood and as a whole that are sort of using their position to be able to do good, right? And Oprah as a person has always inspired me, because here's this person that has come from a very oppressed background. She's not the person that society puts into that sort of perfect box of the woman or whatever. She's actually probably like the opposite of all those things. And yet she's a woman who came from a poverty background. She's Black. Most of her life she's been overweight. So she's not like this perfect, beautiful thing that society puts out there, right? And look at what she's done. Look how, like, she makes me proud to be a woman. Oh, I'm gonna get up. Okay.
Yeah.
There's an amazing podcast called Making
Oprah.
Making Oprah.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful hearing her entire story and her story of the Oprah show, because we kind of look at that show as in the last years of how it ended and how it was, but it was a whole journey of how that show was started, because it was really daytime television. And at that time, that was a whole medium of itself, cheesy medium. And then she just had a vision and saw it was going to be more and led it to there. It's very inspiring.
Yes. I think I've heard her talk a little bit about that, but I haven't listened to that one specifically.
It's only like a 4-part series. It's really good.
I'm going to check that out. And I just think, like, can you imagine if she became president of the United States?
Oh, no. I love
Oprah for president. Come on.
Oh, I don't know. I think we've had enough. Well, I'm not American.
Yeah.
I don't vote. But do celebrities make good presidents? I don't know. She's already all-powerful and all-seeing and all-knowing.
Yeah.
But she could really make some big changes then, right?
Potentially, yeah.
There was talk around Michelle Obama. I think that was more people just like wishing.
And I'm wondering, I don't know if the Oprah thing, because it's been out there a lot on social media and stuff, like Oprah for president, but I'm like, is this really something she's considering? Like, that would be so wonderful.
Could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe some of it has to do with when we see someone strong and powerful and they speak well and they connect, we can feel so hungry for leadership and a good example of that.
You know, you can see somebody like that is really inspiring and has impacted people in such a big way, and you get this inspiration for yourself to do those things. But it doesn't have to be on like Oprah level, right? Like we can be doing that on a much smaller level that can be hugely impactful anyways. And I've just learned in recent years, like, how much you can use art to do that. You know, I come from a background of nursing. I've given up working my full-time job to mostly do the art thing. And I used to have a lot of guilt around sort of giving up this profession where I was helping people and caring for people and sort of the nurse that everybody kind of thinks is this good person, to be sort of an artist. And it's like, oh, that's selfish and that's doing something you like, but you're not helping people anymore. And I've really moved away from that now and realized that you can help people with art, how important art is for telling stories and expressing feelings and helping people connect. It's, you know, it makes me really excited to be an artist and to find opportunities where I can inspire and help people connect and use my work to sort of tell people's stories. So it's such an exciting thing to be an artist. And
I think of your project at the Children's Hospital as you're speaking, like that, to have artists go into a children's hospital and do huge walls, that is huge impact on how they're going to feel and heal.
You know, Children's Hospital, I don't know if it's specifically them, but there's been a bunch of research what art does for healing. And that was why they put so much money into the BC Children's Hospital for this artist project. Every single wall in that, you know, hospital has art in it. And it's been, you know, selected very purposefully. And it's based on like this research that says how important it is for healing. Like hey, it should be in like every hospital, not just for kids, right? But maybe we're moving that way.
That was a cool one too, because it was your nursing and your art practice really meeting somewhere.
Yes, I had a moment for sure as artists got to go in and do a tour before it opened. And I was like standing there in this hospital that I've worked in hospitals before. And so that's like nursey self kind of comes out. And then I was like, but no, I'm not here to nurse. I'm here to like see my art. Like, that's cool. The world's colliding, right?
That's really special.
Yeah, it was for sure.
Awesome. So what I was really inspired by this month is I had a photo shoot with Brittany Berner, and she's the photographer that we use at Thrive. And April's done a photo shoot with her, and Tara has.
So great. Yes.
And I actually had never done one for my work and for me as an artist. And so we had booked that in early December, and then I got real sick and we canceled, and I was pretty sad about it. I had really prepped everything.
So sad.
Studio was ready. I just couldn't get there. And so we ended up doing it last week, the week before. And I think it was, again, all perfect timing of when things are supposed to happen. We ended up having a sunny January day. I think our one day of sun.
Yes.
So the pictures look like I live in California, which is the dream right now because it's
Pretty
been
much,
raining
come on.
for 2 weeks. So the photos are amazing. And what I was really inspired by was working with Britt, is working with another creative in their process. So she brought a prism that she reflected light and then reflected pieces of my studio into the same photos, which I would have never pictured or imagined. And then she had this idea, we're going to tape flowers to the wall and have this background set up. And I was like, that's going to be weird. And in my head, I was like, what? And we did it. They look so cool. And I could just see how she was working through the problem solving and how this is her medium. So it was neat. And it made me think of things differently. So it's neat to see other creatives in action.
And I've only seen a couple of your pictures, but they're stunning.
She did such a good job.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
I also did a photo shoot and she gave me a ton. And again, same. What you're talking about, sort of her process, because I was super nervous. I don't like having my photo taken. And she's like, no, try this, try that. And I was like, that's going to look weird. And then I saw the pictures. I was like, that's amazing. So yeah, she's great.
Brittany, if you're listening to this, we're not doubting you all the time. We think you're amazing.
Awesome.
So question 4, is there a new useful resource you found this month? Tara, do you have one?
I do. I really enjoy Anne Friedman's newsletter. She's a journalist. She writes about a number of topics, including gender, culture, and everything in between. And her newsletter is a collection of interesting articles, all sorts of information that she gathers together. It's really informative, interesting, and there are gifts as well.
That is so nice.
Yeah, it's great. I
kind of
really
gifts?
recommend it. Funny
Cake.
ones.
I don't know about the gifts here.
Well, you got to subscribe. Yeah, I would really recommend it. It takes a while to go through and read it all. So I think she sends them on Friday. So on the weekend, I'm reading articles. And I like it because sometimes just diving into news can be a little intense or scary or overwhelming. And so it's nice to have, she's read through things, picked interesting and informative things that I might like to read. I agree with her. And yeah, it's a really good read.
That's a lot of work for Anne.
It
Good
is.
for her.
Yeah.
A weekly newsletter with all that information.
Yeah, she's amazing. She also has a podcast, the Call Your Girlfriend podcast. And you can subscribe to a free version of her newsletter or a paid version.
Really?
Yes.
Do you pay for it?
I think I'm going to. Actually, thinking
Interesting.
about this last night, I was like, why don't I get the paid version?
Huh. What do you think the paid version has that the free one doesn't?
I'm not sure. I'm going to find out.
Yeah. I'm
I know
interested.
there's pie charts. She also makes pie charts.
I love a good pie chart.
Well,
There
Colors.
might really be cake if you'd get the subscription.
pie.
Pie. No, you want pie.
actual
Guys, I'm hungry
charts on
now.
pie.
Hey, remember I told you I'm trying not to eat sugar? So
Sorry.
I'm talking about cake and pie.
Oh, delicious sugar-free pie.
Yeah.
There's no sugar in pie.
You are listening to a portable Thrive Mastermind meeting. Thrive Mastermind is a year-long program and members connect every month for support, accountability, and community. Applications are always open for visual artists here in Vancouver, Canada, and we have an online program for artists all over the world. Let's hear from our member, Karen Gill.
As an artist, you are alone a lot of the time. And I've got a lot of people in my life, like I have a really good support system, lots of good friends and cousins, and my husband's an artist, but there's nothing like being in a group with like your fellow female artists. It's just like the struggles are the same, the successes are the same. I can show my artwork to, let's say, my sister or one of my cousins, and for them it's like, oh, it's beautiful, or I don't like this color, and that's it. Whereas here, there's a lot more depth.
April, do you have a resource for us?
I do. Being January, I was, of course, trying to find my like day planner that was going to solve it all and
A true
schedule my
THRIVE
life.
member. We
Right?
are all
Yeah.
the same.
Right?
Good day planner. Nothing like a good day
The
planner.
best.
So I did a lot of research about day planners, and there's lots of really great ones out there, but I ended up choosing, it's called the Day Designer. It's very pretty. And not super cheap, but I believe it's money well spent. The reason that I like it is it's got a bunch of goal setting stuff in the beginning, which Jamie, I know you'll really like.
Love it.
And then it has sort of a whole year at a glance. And then it has your monthly at a glance. But then each page has like a to-do list with little ticky boxes,
Love
which
it.
I love. Yeah. And then, like schedule with actual time things. And then it has a spot for your daily gratitude. Which fits in with my word of the year, right? And it has a spot for like if you want to do like budgeting stuff, or like food journaling type stuff. Like it's all in one. And I'm the girl that like every morning makes a list of what to do. So I have these like little scrappy bits of paper all over my house.
I don't know anyone else
no,
who does
you don't
that.
do that. You don't do that. And the other ridiculous thing I do is I email myself all my tasks.
Really?
So it's like, oh, you're like, oh, I got to remember to do this. I got to remember to do that. I email myself the tasks.
like
Or
on
if
your
it-
phone when you think of it?
Yeah. Yeah. Or if it's like, oh, I have this project ongoing and, oh, I got to remember to contact that person and do this, but I don't have time to do it today. I email myself so that I'll remember to do it like some other time. So then when I open my email, it's very overwhelming. I get a lot of emails and they're all from myself.
Do you send yourself nice words too?
No, just stuff I gotta do. So with this day planner, because it's all together, I write my tasks there. Even if I email myself when I'm out so I can remember it, it comes off the email, goes into the day planner, and then it's off the email, which is great.
Yeah.
And then if I don't get to that task that day, then I schedule it for another day. So I look ahead and like plug it into that day. And I find, because I feel overwhelmed a lot, which I think a lot of us do with like the to-do list and
Well, and your inbox is full,
right?
so that's hard.
This demanding woman
I have
keeps
like
emailing
1,200
you.
emails. God, she's bossy. Huh? So I feel like it's just making me feel like, okay, I don't have to think about that anymore. It's scheduled in. That's for a few days from now. Stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just way calmer about things now.
Well, it sounds like you figured out a system, but my resource actually could help you a lot.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
We use Asana, and it's a project management tool. That sounds fancy, and it's not. It's so easy. And what's cool is there's an app. So instead of emailing yourself, you could actually put that task right in there. And right when you think about it, and then you can put what day it's due. So I use that as to say I'm going to do it on the Monday or Friday.
Right.
And it's what we use for Thrive, and it's great because you can tag people on different tasks.
So be like, Tara, you have to do that.
It's great because I can just be like, Tara, 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 and move everything off of my list. But I also just started using it. You can have a separate thing called like personal projects. That's the exact same program that you can toggle. And so I put in all my prep for my studio and my art practice side. And now I'm super into it because I've put like research I found and little notes to myself. And it's actually becoming more like a sketchbook of research kind of things. So it's where everything's in one place because you can make projects and put information about it below.
Yes.
But it would get you out of that emailing yourself habit.
My only thing
Go on.
is that I don't want to be on my computer anymore, and I don't want to be on my phone anymore, although that doesn't necessarily, I wanted to like go old school and like write it on a piece of paper, and I love crossing things off.
Well, there
and
you go.
I feel so like I spend so much time on my computer and on my phone that I just want to get away from it.
Yeah.
So, because I've used that program before.
Oh,
and
you have?
Yeah, you guys had recommended it to me before, and I really liked it. Was super into it for a while, but I think that was the thing that held me back.
That you wanted to be analog.
Yes, but I think you've re-inspired me to maybe use it for specific projects and the breaking down of the projects and planning that out.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that could work well for that.
Yeah.
But
I think there's times where this will work really well for the year, and then you'll think, okay, I want to go back on the computer for tasks and that sort of thing. So I think Asana is just a really useful tool. And
is it free?
It's
I can't
free.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so,
There's like a
that's amazing.
certain level that you get to where
Okay.
you pay, but for Thrive with 5 people, it's free.
Oh, it's great. I can see how when you're sharing tasks back and forth,
Yeah,
that's
it's
super
very
awesome.
good for that.
I gotta wait till my staff gets bigger, and then
Yeah. Studio manager.
the dream of the studio manager finally
Yeah.
comes true. Mhm.
Well, and I like it too because I've been like bookmarking articles and things I like. And so I'll move it over and I'll put like due date to read it. Because I find sometimes I don't have time to read it and then I
Yes.
lose
Yeah.
it. So I'll throw it in there and just put a little reminder like read
With
this.
like a
by
link
next
to
week.
it, or
Yeah, the link.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool, because I do feel like sometimes, there's some great articles on the Thrive Network, and you think I'd love to read that, but I don't have time right now.
Yeah.
Where do I put that reminder to myself,
Yeah.
right?
And I'll put, after a mastermind meeting, I've started putting in notes of things that I really gained from them to remember. And I like that because it's just all these notes in one place. It's just putting everything in one place.
It's about the one place, and not
One
the
place.
floating
Whether it's-
scraps of paper.
Whether it's the book or the Asana. But I also do have some scraps of paper that I like.
Yeah.
Like
Nothing
the
like a good old
trash.
scrap of paper.
I love the trash writing all over it.
I like using a day planner and Asana, and if it's a crazy day, I'll have scraps.
All
Whoa.
three.
All 3.
Wow. Do you email yourself though? That's a big question.
No.
I would like to
No.
know if anybody else does that.
I've done it,
Yeah, okay.
and it stressed me out.
Right.
'Cause-
I think it does stress me out.
Yeah, what about using the notes on your phone and then
So
just checking
the
them,
reason I use
or-
email is because I will check my email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't look at my notes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the issue with that. What I was going to say
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
is that it sounds like you guys are saying a sauna, like you're sitting in a sauna.
I wish.
Ah.
But we should just maybe clarify that,
Yeah.
that it's ASSAN.
ASANA. It'll be in the show notes.
Okay. I like to use a sauna. That's what it sounds.
I love a good sauna, actually.
Like,
too.
okay, see you guys, we're going to the sauna.
Yeah.
We take our notebooks into the sauna and write our notes.
You guys should start recording the podcast in a sauna. Never mind the pantry.
Pantry to the sauna.
Love it.
So, April, what are you personally and or professionally proud of this month?
Well, again, January, there's lots of reflection and things going on. So I have been doing some reflecting on 2017. And one of the things that I looked back on when I looked at all the things I did in that year was my Thrive Talk.
amazing.
Thrive Talk Minis, which I was given the opportunity by Thrive to do, which is great. So anybody who hasn't seen the Thrive Talk Mini, essentially it's a series of slides, 13 slides? Something like that. A series of slides in a short period of time, I think it's like 7 minutes or so, to sort of share your artist story, share your why, versus like, here's what I'm making, this is my process, right? So that opportunity really gave me a chance to like sit down and look at like my story and why am I creating the work I'm creating now. In the last couple years, I've been changing how I've been creating my work. It's a similar look, so you can sort of still tell it's mine, but I've been doing these kind of loose, abstract backgrounds, combined with my more stylized trees. And I started doing abstract work as a way of art therapy, of coping with some of the grief of losing my mom. She passed away about 3 years ago, and I was having a really hard time with that. And when I look back, I'm proud on being brave enough to share that story. I shared it with like photos of my mom standing in front of a room full of people, all very lovely Thrive people who are very supportive. So it was a great spot to do that. So I shared that. It was recorded by Thrive. I talked a lot about it, about grief, the cycle of grief, what I'd learned and experienced. And part of my hope in doing that was to share my story so that other people who are also going through grief could sort of connect with that and know that like some of the things they were going through were normal, which I didn't know. And I had a lot of people after the talk come up to me, be like, I didn't know that, I had a really foggy brain. And, afterwards, because I was dealing with grief, etc. I did have a really cool experience. I was doing circle craft. I do a lot of big sort of artisan markets with my work, and I was doing circle craft this past year, and I had one of my customers who's actually the mom of a girl I went to high school with, and so I've known her for quite some time, but hadn't seen her in quite a while. She came running up to my booth and gave me this big hug, and she was sort of in tears, and I was like, what's going on? I didn't know. And she said, thank you so much for sharing that story, because Thrive had recorded it. I put it in my newsletter, sent it out to my newsletter, didn't sort of really get any response, and didn't know sort of how that story was impacting people. And here was like a direct thing. And she said, I'm dealing with the grief over losing my parents, and I hadn't processed that. I hadn't given myself the time to sort of identify that these things were grief. And she's like, I broke down after I heard that. I identified that this was the issue in my life. I started doing some things to deal with the grief, and I'm such a better place now. And it's all because of you sharing that story. Oh. And I was just like, it just proves that telling our stories, and like you were saying, Tara, too, like some of the stuff that, you're saying about women sharing some of the stuff that's kind of ugly and kind of like not as nice to share, but sharing those stories are super important, because we're all humans and a lot of us have the same experiences, but there's so much stuff that's just not talked about. And wouldn't it be a better place and us be able to deal with those things better if we knew that some of these things are normal and other things, people are going through them, and we can share these sort of experiences together, right? So yeah, that was something I was proud that I had the guts to share that. And to actually share it in my newsletter too, because like I said, in front of a group at Thrive was different, but I was like, should I put this in my newsletter? And I'm glad that I did. And my work, the show that I'm doing in Port Moody called Our Roots Exposed. And what my work has always been about is sort of the idea of exposing roots, but that's that same thing, that stories and our roots are sort of what create us. And by sharing those stories, we can better connect, because like trees in a forest, all of our roots are connected, right? So if we can expose them and share them, we can actually work better together as a whole community, as people in general. So.
Well, I thought that talk was really important because it showed that you had really done the work. And I know we've had conversations, and it was hard to go to therapy and start dealing with grief. Living with grief, you can kind of just motor along, but
that's it.
Acknowledging it is really hard.
Yeah, and it's and that's what people often do, is they just like keep themselves really busy and like shove it to the back of their mind. That's sort of like the easier way to go. The more difficult way to go is to actually bring it to the forefront and talk it through and like talk about those really difficult times in detail. It's super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's painful, it's uncomfortable. And we're humans, we try to avoid pain and discomfort. And so people don't want to do it, but man, like it helps so much. And I'm in such a different place now because of it. And if I can share that story and encourage other people with it, then that's wonderful.
Yeah. It's amazing talk too. You
Will you share
really
it?
shared we'll put it in the show notes, because I think it was really neat that you shared your journey and then actually talked about these practical things that are not broken down, like the brain fog and how you were just kind of being busy and without realizing.
And I put some things in there too about sort of if you're the person that is supporting somebody with grief, right? Because that's the other, we're all going to be somebody who's dealing with grief or somebody who's supporting somebody with grief at some point in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Thrive, for giving me that opportunity to share that story. That was really great.
Yeah, and thanks for taking that opportunity to, as Oprah talked about in her speech, it's about how important sharing our truth is and create a gift for other people, which is really beautiful. It's a really,
What do you got now, Jamie?
What do I got now?
What are you proud of? What have you been doing?
It's not a contest.
It isn't.
I know, but you won.
Do I get cake?
Yeah, we need the pie chart, Anne.
You get a sugar-free pie chart.
So what I'm proud of is that I had my big plan for December, and the great part is that we're working with a lot of amazing people and we're giving them a platform to speak. I find hard is that Tara and I have to put ourselves out there a lot. And so before we went on our break for December, we put out our podcast, and it was basically me chirping away on all the things I was going to do and my new website. And then I got sick and I was alone in my bed and I could just hear my voice saying all the things. And I think it was a really good experience because I came to the realization that if Thrive is going to be sustainable and I'm going to be able to do this for a long, long time, which is my hope, I have to let go a bit and be okay with failing and be okay with not always being Thrive and up in the face of all this stuff. And that's hard. And it's like hard to let go. So I just took a step back and I was like, maybe it's better to be honest and be a real human and come back on the podcast and say, I got real sick the whole time and didn't launch the website and didn't have the photo shoot. And maybe that's more human, because if I wasn't saying all the things I was doing on the podcast, it would have been disappointing, but it would not have bothered me in the same way. So I think this was actually a big step for me in the right direction to sort of let go a little bit. And the part that's just, of course, we all know, it's all worked out. The website's going up today. It looks
Had
great.
your photo shoot. It's
the photo shoot
fantastic.
was sunny and beautiful, and I would have, on the day we were going to do it, it was dark and rainy, and I showed up better. And my 3 weeks off, I slept the whole time and watched Netflix, and maybe that was exactly what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And I got a painting done that I'm really proud of,
So beautiful.
and that's great. And now it's on to the next one. So I'm just proud that I did let go and just rest and get better. And I'm working towards continuing to do that this year.
Well, I think, Jamie, all of us members of Thrive are very happy to know that you are indeed human.
She's not. I work with her. She's not.
Yeah, there's nothing like getting the flu to feel very human.
Yeah.
Like I have no control over this part and this piece of health, like that feeling of being grateful and what we take for granted.
Yes.
We have no control, and I'm very grateful to be healthy when I am now. It was brutal.
I try to remind myself this when I get like a virus or something and you're sick and it really sort of brings you down. Just remember that it's something you're going to get over.
It
And
really doesn't feel like that when you're in
So
it.
hard.
Like I had some times where I was like, this is your new life.
Oh my goodness.
This is who you are now, and you've got to make the best of it.
Netflix for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it was
April's
sad.
a nurse. April, as a nurse, does flu last forever?
I've had some good flus in my time, and I hear you. It's horrible.
I don't think people talk about the flu enough.
Well, maybe that's one of those things we need to like share more stories.
My next Thrive Talk is going to be on the flu. Just kidding.
Wow. Be a thrilling episode.
Tara, what are you personally or professionally proud of this month?
Yeah, well, I guess it kind of ties to, in what you were sharing, I was hearing some acceptance and accepting being human and not perfect. And it's something I've talked a lot about on the podcast, is just how much I work. And there were times where it was not feeling good and I was really overwhelmed. But I feel like lately my work-life balance, not I believe really in balance, is feeling good. I work a lot. By other people's standards, they would probably say that is excessive and not normal, whatever that means. But to some people, they'd be like, she's an entrepreneur, she's not working enough 24/7. But I've been able to find what works for me. And I found sometimes I feel a little guilty because I have a family. My family is a man named Bill and 2 cats and my sisters, but I still have to show up for them. And like this week, I'll see them 2 nights. And I felt a little guilty about that. And then I was like, they're okay. I've checked in with them. They're fine. They're happy. This is just me trying to beat myself up.
Shoulding yourself.
Oh.
Self-induced guilt.
Yeah.
But I think you're wise to, like you said, you're checking in, right? So like check in. Is this all okay with everybody? If it's not causing a problem, then
Yeah.
balance is always the thing, isn't it? I'm glad to hear that you're finding some of that though, because you
Yeah.
two are just working like some crazy people.
Yeah.
Coming
Not
from
you're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't work like a crazy
The
person.
woman
I know what you're
emailing
talking about.
herself to-do lists throughout the day.
And there's nothing wrong, for me anyway, to work quite a lot. I find fulfillment in it. I feel really like I'm contributing. But I also have to be careful my self-worth isn't coming from that, and how much I'm working and what am I getting done. It actually has nothing to do with that. But I struggle with it.
Speaking of struggles, April, got a struggle for us?
I find I struggle to get inspired to paint. And then I feel guilty about that because I think I'm an artist and I'm so lucky to be an artist and I get to go in my studio and paint. So I shouldn't feel like I'm struggling with this. I should feel lucky and grateful that I'm right.
That sounds
Right.
like a fun conversation in your own head.
So I'm curious if you ladies have any tips on just getting yourself to the studio and just sort of getting yourself working. Once I'm there, I love it. And I never want to leave. And I get annoyed when studio time is up and I have to go do something else. So I'm just like, why is it this constant self-struggle to get going on it? Do you guys find that?
Yeah. And I agree with once I'm in it, I never want it to end. But it is, especially if I don't have, I'm actually fine if I have a work in progress. So
yes,
if I
that's
have my
easier.
one good day and then the next day I'm like, oh, if I go in, I'll finish this part of it.
Yes.
Then I'm fine. But it's that, especially at the beginning.
Starting,
of a
I
new
agree.
Piece. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So that was no answer, just agreeing.
It makes me feel better to know you have a similar struggle.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I find sometimes I just can't make it work. I'm just forcing it and it's not happening. And in other areas of my life, I can do a little forcing and it'll happen. Like I can reply to emails. But if my bodies and my brain and my spirit aren't connecting properly, what's happening on the paper is just, ugh, I don't want to make it. No one wants to look at it. And so I will stay in the studio, but I will organize things. I will shuffle paper. I will dust, and I'll just be in there. And then eventually either I'll move on with my day and my life and say, I come from a place of abundance. I will wake up tomorrow and I have a full life of being an artist. And sometimes it's not going to work.
I think it's tricky. And I know you ladies do the same thing where you have scheduled studio time.
Yeah.
Right? Because like the perfect world of an artist is like you just go create when you get this like creative juices are flowing and you get this brilliant idea and you just go for it. But I think the real world of most artists is that they have sort of scheduled studio time. And so sometimes I'm struggling with that, like, oh, it's Tuesday. I actually don't feel like painting today. Whereas like, oh, it's Wednesday. I wish I had time to paint today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just sort of a struggle that has to be accepted. But I like your idea of just sort of being in the space. And I'm trying now to make my space a little bit more welcoming. So I've got an essential oil diffuser going in there now, which I'm enjoying. And I've sort of organized things differently. So there's a little bit more space. So that's helping.
One thing that has helped me is right now I'm working on paper. So my process right now is I'm actually making the compositions in Photoshop and then I project on the paper and draw it out. So that's
cool.
what I've done lately. And so on that, I find it really annoying to project and draw out because you have to get it all set up and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll cut a bunch of paper and I'll draw, the one I want to try, but at the same time, I'll do some really close up with the projector or back or like move it around. So I'll just draw out 5 so that when I do get stuck, I have these drawings that are ready to go. So I'm trying to avoid that feeling of not having something I could do in the studio. I've noticed that's when I get stuck. So even now, because it's scheduled, I'm like, well, just go in and do a study of those plants if you're not ready to actually do that into a composition. So that's helped. So if you're in the mood of drawing or doing your abstract backgrounds, do like one extra so that that finished piece isn't actually done. You have one more, the progression keeps going.
Yes.
And then I will, if I have an idea, I'm like, no, I want to paint this. I'll paint the big idea, but I always have these backup pieces.
Yeah, so
That's
having a
helped
few
me.
sort of on the go. Yeah, I think that's helpful for sure.
I also really like listening to audiobooks while I paint. And so sometimes if I'm being really difficult about going into the studio, I won't let myself listen to the audiobook until I'm in the studio. So I can't find out what happens next until I'm sitting and painting.
You're bribing yourself. Yes. I love that.
With books. So, but it works.
Yeah.
That's
I feel
good.
like,
I like
tricking myself always works. I'm not that smart, so it's easy enough to...
Like cake and pies would work.
Cake and pie.
Sugar-free, of course.
So,
And then also creativity breeds more creativity. So even if it's just plants, I have house plants. I feel like that helps me feel creative and in the flow, and organizing a closet, just knitting, whatever. Just that
making a face at the organizing the closet.
Well, yeah.
Hey,
It
that's
can
your
feel
thing.
good to like throw things out or
It's true.
donate things, but just helps clear it out.
It's true.
I always go back to the book. I read it every year, The War of Art. Art of War. War of Art.
No.
It's the art one.
Art of War. Word of Art? No.
The correct title will be in the show notes.
Perfect.
War of Art. Yes.
Okay.
And Stephen Pressfield is the author. Do you know that piece? And his whole thing is that the professional in the creative pursuit does the work and sits down, and when they're scheduled to be there, they're there, and they treat it like a job. And the amateur waits for inspiration. So I do have that feeling sometimes where it's just not clicking and I'm actually making it worse than better. But I do try to remember with the scheduled days, I'm like, if I blow this off, like I don't have a scheduled day for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so trying to treat it just like I'd show up. Like I show up to Thrive on time. You show up for nursing on time.
Yeah.
So I really try to do that. It doesn't work all the time, but his book is really good if you haven't read it.
I haven't read it. I will check that out.
Yeah.
Once I figure out the name.
Yeah. There's also the other one is all about warfare. It's like it's
the that's
war
what I was
of-
thinking when I said it out loud. It was like the art of war.
The art of war is all
warfare.
about warfare, I think, in China.
And then the war of art
is about
art.
the battle of
battle of making
ourselves and our artist practice.
Okay.
Very
We
different.
haven't figured it out now.
Tara, what do you have for us today?
So I have a question for April.
Oh my goodness.
I'm excited to have you here. So my question is, April, you've been not only an artist, but a business owner for 10 years?
Yes. Crazy.
Okay. So what advice would you have for, say, 2 people who've had a business for 2.5, almost 3 years?
Well, I just want to say that you ladies are at a much different level at 2.5 years than I was.
How many years have you been?
So I've been selling my work for 10 years. Like the very first market that I ever did, like put my work on a wall and had it for sale, was in February 10 years ago.
Wow. That's
The
amazing.
BC Home and Garden Show.
Wow.
I know.
You think back, I think for you it's interesting because you have a booth set up in a lot of things you do. And so you've shown me pictures before of how the booth looked when you first
So
started.
bad.
And now it's just so pro. You can really
10
see a
years
progression.
of doing the work.
Yeah, there's been some work in there. And the other thing is that my transition, like I was working full time as a nurse for the first sort of 4 or 5 years of that. And then I went to more casual and part-time and now just the 1 day a week. I've been doing that for 3 years now. So I wasn't sort of wholeheartedly into it like you guys are. So keep that in mind. I found it probably the 2 or 3 year mark is where I really started to sort of own that identity of being a business owner and calling myself an artist, which I know a lot of artists that could probably identify with that sort of awkward feeling of like, when do I call myself an artist? And I really struggle with that too, because I didn't go to artist school. You know, I was kind of doing this transition between like, am I a nurse? Am I an artist? Am I more this or more that? Anyways, I think that you ladies already have this going on quite a bit, but sort of like owning that you run a business, that you're business partners, this is what we do, talking about what you do as much as possible, which helps. I found that really helped me solidify my mind. Like, what is it that I do? What is my business? Like saying it out loud to people, especially because I was transitioning out of 2 different things. But I mean, you ladies have been transitioning out of different careers as well, right? So you're sort of creating this new identity, right? But the more you say it out loud, the more other people understand and you kind of get it clarified in your mind as well, right? The other thing, I don't know if I was doing this at like the 2 or 3 year mark, but looking back, and this is sort of what you were saying, Tara, like I was doing that like hustle, like working. I was working full-time as a nurse, doing a market like every other weekend. I was doing wholesale and selling online and doing commissions all while working full-time. And it was just crazy. But I look back on that time and I'm like, I'm so glad that I worked that hard because it got me sort of a boost ahead and gave me that background. But now you're at a point where you're like, right, this is crazy. I can't work this much. So then it's time to like sit, have a look at what's working, what's not, what do I hate doing? Is it worth that feeling, that yucky feeling I have about it? And really break it down to, okay, what's working, what's not? Let's get rid of the stuff that's not working. Let's focus on the stuff that is. And I think doing that sort of on an annual basis, which like January is such a good time to do that. And I've been trying to do that with my business each year as well. So, and I think it sounds like you guys are already doing that. And I think you've been doing that all along, but to sort of keep analyze it, and you guys are growing so quickly. compared to sort of how my business has been sort of the slow trickle up to the 10-year mark, right? Just always reassessing and always looking at sort of what's working. And yeah, I think you guys are already doing a really great job of that anyways. But
I think what's been interesting seeing with you, so how I met April was probably 4 years ago. And I had quit my teaching job and was hustling and had my first art show. And then I decided I was going to do an artisan market. So I heard that April was the best in the biz. So I emailed her for a lady date, drove to her home, sat myself down, and asked her a million questions. And you were so giving. It was amazing. And did the market, and markets are not for me, but I did my best. And
you tried, you learned.
But over these years, seeing with you, April, is that you're really good at doing that, at assessing what's working and what's not. But I think the key there too is that when you let things go or add new things in, is that it takes time for those things to come to fruition.
Yes.
And I think especially when you're building something and then you change it a little, it can be scary.
Totally.
But you've put in that solid time of work that it's all still building and all in the same direction. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, change can definitely be scary. Like for me, I again started changing my work a bit probably a couple of years ago. And so I had sort of 8 years of like my customers really knowing what to expect from me and my work being very similar. And so there's that fear of like, oh my gosh, if I change things, am I going to lose people? Am I sort of taking my business backwards, that kind of thing, right? But I think it comes back to that reassessment of like, am I happy with what I'm making? Do I love making this? I got to a point where I was just like, this feels like work and nothing but work. Like that, I'm not getting that joy and that sort of creative self sort of coming out because I was doing the same thing over and over again. And I've chosen to sort of follow what feels good to me. And like, I get so excited now about making work. Like, and I hadn't had that feeling in a long time. Once I get past my like whole not wanting to get into the studio thing, but once I get going, I'm just like, have so much fun with it. And so I'm so excited to have that back. And I've had customers tell me that they see way more emotion in my work and that they can see like how much I love making it. And I'm just like, that is cool, right? And you don't want to lose that.
Yeah. But it's scary.
Super
change.
scary. And I'm still scared. Like I'm still like, am I doing the right thing? Questioning myself. But again, it's that reassessment over and over again. And instead of sort of that surging ahead, like what you were talking about with sort of the beginning of the new year, take some time to really look back. What did that last year look like? What does it look like since I first started my business? You know, how has that route sort of, you know, because nothing's a straight line, you know, the route curves back and forth. Jamie shaking her head being, oh yeah.
Treading water happens sometimes.
You guys should be really proud of how far you come in that short period of time. It actually blows my mind a lot of the time. So congratulations. And all your hard work is really, it's there. It's out there. Everybody can see it. And the fruits of your labor are evident. And all of us female artists out there are benefiting from it. So thank you.
Thank you, April, for being somebody who we can look up to a little bit or a lot bit further along. And I think when Jamie and I met, we actually talked about you as somebody who was really cool. I don't think we'd met you yet. We're like, April,
I was like, I'm going to find her.
Yeah.
I'm going to get her.
I'm going to have a lady date with her.
Yeah. It's really special and cool.
Oh, I love it.
And you've believed in this from the beginning, which
absolutely
at the beginning, I mean, it was just a far off idea.
But you're filling a niche that is really needed. And like when I wish that this existed when I started 10 years ago. I mean,
I know, April.
That was why you started this, right?
Yeah.
I think about that all the time. And like everything we are putting together and our new ideas, I just think about when I first started. I mean, I was coming to you and to just searching people out to find this information. But if you could join something,
right,
take my money.
You
Tell
have
me
made
the
it
ways.
right. And that's the cool thing is Thrive has just made it so much easier for us all to connect and share those things so we don't have to be like chasing each other down, asking for lady dates, right? Like it's really an amazing thing.
Yeah, my schedule got pretty packed. It was like 2 to 4 lady dates a day in the beginning. Now a mastermind meeting does it all. So my question this month is actually about building your newsletter list because I do have this new website. It's coming up today.
Can't wait to see it. Oh my God, today?
Yeah.
Wow.
And Penny Lane's team did such a good job. I'm very, very proud of it. And on there, I have a newsletter sign up page. And I know what I want to do for the newsletter. As Thrive, we have researched a lot about what artists should do and that sort of thing. So I feel good about that. But I was wondering both of your tactics on building your lists because I think you do it in different ways. So yeah, what do you think about building your newsletter list?
It's something I've been working on the last couple of years. I've had a newsletter for a long time because I've been doing this for a long time. And it's only in the last few years that I've really seen how beneficial a newsletter list is. Because I've been more consistent about sending out my newsletters, it's not a guarantee, but a lot of times when I send out new work, I get some interest, some sales, certainly through that. With the changes in social media, I started sharing my work back on Facebook in 2007 when it was so good. You could build your fan page, no problem. And everybody saw all your posts. It's so different now. And so I've just realized how important it is to develop your newsletter because we have no control over our number. I mean, you could have 10,000 followers on Instagram and they could all disappear tomorrow because you don't own that. Right? The newsletter list is the only contacts that are yours. And when you send it out, it goes into everybody's email inbox.
Yeah.
As opposed to a post that gets shown to 100 of your 5,000 followers or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So I've just really been okay, I have no control over social media and how those are changing. I do have control over my newsletter. And so I've really been focusing more on that. But yeah, you definitely have to have people on your newsletter list in order to send out this wonderful newsletter. One of the best ways I've found to build my signups, I feel may not work super well for you at times, Jamie, but I think there are opportunities, is in person. So like we've been talking about, I do a lot of artisan markets, and at my booth, I always have a sign up list. I used to just kind of tuck it in the corner, and I might get 5 people sign up at a show. Now I put it front and center. I make it look pretty. I put win this print.
Yeah.
Okay, that's key. Give away something.
Okay.
And I'll get hundreds and hundreds of people that sign up at a show now. I do get a few unsubscribes, but maybe 4 or 5 out of those couple hundred. So that's great. And then, so it doesn't mean you can't do the giveaway thing online.
Yes.
Right? And I think, Tara, you've done this too.
Yeah, so I have done giveaways. This isn't obviously for everybody, but I think it's fun. I do it because I think it's fun. I have a lower point line of work that I do the giveaways with. And I just love letting someone know that they won.
Yeah.
So it feels good for me and leads to people who are, yes, some of them are just want something for free, but generally I feel that it's a little tipping point of, oh, I should sign up. So I wouldn't do a newsletter giveaway every month. And
Right.
I do them once, maybe twice a year. So a really quick way I could give value to someone is a giveaway. But what are some other things as an artist we could offer? So teasing what's coming up in the newsletter. If you'd like to hear about this, I'm writing about it, sharing it with my super special newsletter list. You can also share past newsletters. Stories could be kind of a good way to do this, particularly if you have over 10,000 followers, you can put a link in the stories. Hey, check out my last newsletter, see what you've been missing this whole time.
Right.
Kind of thing.
She's good.
Or another thing I tried once was to say, you guys get to vote. What am I going to write about? This, or this.
Oh, okay.
And got some
that's
sign-ups.
Yeah.
And
So you do find that people on Instagram will then go sign up for your newsletter. Just make it easy.
yeah, I mean, you just got to ask.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just asking. Did you know I had a newsletter? I send it out once a month.
It's true because I've seen other artists do that, just acknowledging that they have one.
Yes.
And then that to me is like, oh, they actually do that. Because I think it's annoying to sign up for, especially an artist newsletter, and then you get one the whole year. And so you forget about it. But I think it's neat when artists say I have one. I'm like, oh, okay, you're actually like putting time into this. And it's just that reminder of I will sign up.
Yeah.
And that sort of touches on the idea of like consistency with a newsletter too, right? I hear that from several other artist friends that, you know, they have this newsletter list, but they don't do anything with it or they send out once a year. I have found that I'm seeing more benefit from doing it at least once a month.
Is that what you do, once a month?
I do once a month.
Yeah.
I've considered around Christmas and when I have more stuff going on and sales or launching a new product or something like that, I will do more.
Yeah.
But I try to make a minimum of every month.
And do you find that you'll send it out and you will get sales or inquiries right after?
Yeah, I've sent out newsletters and somebody's like, yep, I'll take that painting. I'll take this painting. It doesn't happen every time, but it does happen.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So just part of, again, each piece of the puzzle, make it work.
You know, we have to remember that people have like really busy lives and lots of things to distract them. So like a newsletter is a little way to just continue sort of putting your work in front of their eyes. Because it's probably, you know, they may not have bought from you because they got too busy and they forgot about it or whatever. Or you may sort of send them the newsletter at like the perfect time when all of a sudden they have a little bit of extra spending money or it's a special occasion or they've just moved and they really need a piece of art for whatever. So you never know when you're going to sort of touch them at what time, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to say too, Jamie, you were wondering about how to build your newsletter list. One thing that I try to be really on top of is anytime I have communication with somebody, especially via email, I will ask them, be like, hey, can I sign you up for my newsletter list? And most people are like, yeah, absolutely, like excited about it, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, if you have somebody who's inquiring or whatever, then I always make sure, because those are the people you want on your newsletter list,
And
right?
so you'll say, I will sign you up.
Yes, and I sign them up.
Yeah. Because to give them the link to do it, you never know. So it's great just for them to say yes and you go and put it in.
Yes.
Oh, that's smart. That's very smart.
And you could probably on your email signature have like a sign up for my newsletter, a link on there, like as many links as possible. Put it on your social media. You can have a link to it, obviously, on your website.
Yeah.
Have it somewhere that's really easy to find on your website too. Yeah. Some people have those like pop-ups. I don't know if those are too annoying or not. But
they work.
But
but you guys, I think there's one on the Thrive site, isn't there?
No, we don't have one on there.
I have one on my Tara Galuska website.
I think, and you can get it so you time it so that if they spend longer than 20 seconds on your site or something, it pops up, right?
Yeah, not 1 second. Hey, sign up to my newsletter.
Yeah, you want to be careful not to be too annoying.
Right? No, I think those are really smart.
Looking forward to your newsletter, Jamie Smith.
I know, I was just thinking, I'm not going to promise when this newsletter is going to happen. But now I know how to build it.
You're prepared.
I'm prepared. Well, thank you so much for being here, April.
You're more than welcome. I'm honored to be here.
So fun.
So fun.
Tara, how can these lovely listeners find Thrive?
So you can get in touch with us. You can email us at info@thriveartstudio.com. Find us on Instagram at Thrive Art Studio or find us on Facebook. We're thriveartstudio.com there as well. Jamie, where can we find you on Instagram?
At Jamie Smith Studio. Tara, what about you?
At Tara Galuska. And April, where can we find you on Instagram?
You can find me at Yapes Paints.
Well, thanks so much, April, for being a guest and for being an amazing mastermind member and leader. Thanks to Ellen for all your hard work and support every month. Also, thanks to Lamin and Victoria who have joined us. And thanks to Marty and Laurie from Sonance Media. They help us with editing and posting the podcast. Ooh, and I'd also like to thank the people who have been sharing the podcast on their Instagram and their feeds, their stories. Some people have linked to us on their websites, which is so exciting. And we also got an iTunes review. I think we have one.
Whoa.
It is a 5-star review.
Thank you, sister.
And I guess I always hear people encouraging people to do 5-star only.
You could be number 2.
You could be number 2. The race
Special.
to review us. So thanks everyone for listening, and remember to do the work.
To learn more about the program and to apply, head on over to thriveartstudio.com/mastermind. We can't wait to hear from you.